Alright, good morning ladies and gents. Today we're going into our next lab, which is going to be Confit chicken wings. Now, so far in this class we have done tender cuts with chicken breast and we have done tough cuts with chicken leg. Today we're going to be doing an in-between cut. Now, in-between cuts are not necessarily doing a ton of work on the animal, so they're not super tough, but they're definitely not tender either. They do some work. In a case of a chicken, the wings are not used for flying, but chickens still use them quite a bit, so they do have a bit of muscle in them. So, what we've got to do is we are going to use a dual cooking method. A cooking method that not only tenderizes these, but also crisps them up at the very end. So what we are going to do is a style called Confit, which is slow cooking in fat. This is probably a new technique to many of you. This is the best way to not only render out the excess fat in the chicken, but it then at the end leads to meat that's very succulent. And then what we'll do is we'll take them out, let them cool, and then we are going to deep fry them at a really high temperature. Now, what I've got here, the recipe is really simple. You're just going to need chicken wings. Now here, just for this demo, I'm just going to go with 8 in this fryer. I've got a countertop fryer set up as well. I'm going to put another 6 in there. But for this demo, you can do any amount of wings that you want. You're going to need oil for the frying, enough to come about halfway up the pot. Do not overfill your pot with oil, because as we put the chicken wings in, the oil is going to bubble up, and not to mention the oil will get displaced and you don't want it overflowing. And then as far as other ingredients, if you want to do a sauce on this, then you just pick your favorite sauce. You can do buffalo sauce, you can do bottled sauces, whatever you would like to coat these at the very end. But that's it as far as ingredients. Now, as far as equipment, what you are definitely going to need is you're going to need some type of thermometer. Now, you can use a fry thermometer like the one I've got here. You can even use a probe thermometer like the one that we've used to temp our temp proteins and stuff like that. We also have a laser thermometer that measures the surface temperature of the oil. And what we're going to be using here, or I'm going to be using for the demo, is a probe thermometer with a digital readout. So I'm going to move the camera here and show you how this works. Alright, now so this is my digital thermometer. Now, the number on the left is saying what temperature the probe is currently at right now. And that thermometer, that probe, is connected through this wire. The number on the right is the temperature that this is set to, that an alarm will go off if it goes any higher than that. For example, if I take this probe and I put it into the frying oil right now, you'll see the temperature start to go up higher and higher until it eventually will get a true reading. Now, as the temperature of the oil goes up, I do not want it for now going above 250 degrees. If it goes above that, it will start to beep, which it will probably do here momentarily. There we go. So, I'll take that out so you can hear me. So now, if I put this in oil and the oil gets too hot, it'll give me a little notification. I can then know to back down on the oil. Now, for a recipe like this, it is important that you do have control over the temperature of the oil. So it's super important to know exactly if your thermometer is working. In order to do that, what we do is we put the thermometer in a container of ice water. And what that should do is it should drop the temperature enough where it should go close to 32 degrees. Now, if it's running hot or running above 32 degrees, like in this case, you can see this thermometer is about 2 to 4 degrees off, then I know for this, I'm going to set my thermometer about 4 degrees hotter, because I know the thermometer is just that much off. Okay? But this is a good way to calibrate your thermometers just to make sure that they are working. Okay, and finally, one last thing. If you are working with hot oil, if you do everything right, there should be no worries whatsoever. But just in case you have an overflow or there's a fire, it's super important that you know what to do so that you don't make the problem worse. If this catches on fire, the very first thing you need to do is turn off the heat or turn off the flame or unplug your fryer. Okay, if you cut off its heat source, then chances are the fire will die out. If that does not work, then the next thing you should need to do is take a cover or a lid and smother the fire out. Okay? If you do that and that still does not work, then you will take a bunch of baking soda or salt and just dump that right onto the fire, and that should snuff the fire out. If that doesn't work and all else fails, then that's where you use your fire extinguisher. Like I said, hopefully it doesn't get to that point, but it's important that you know when working with hot oil what to do as far as safety-wise. Okay? All right. I think that's all the warnings and everything, so let's go ahead and get started. So, as far as our recipe here, we're going to cook this very, very slowly at first. Okay, so we are only going to be heating the oil up to 250 degrees. So, first step in your recipe is you are going to heat the oil to 250 degrees. Again, you can set your probe thermometer so it doesn't go any higher than that. You can also use a laser thermometer very carefully, obviously making sure that you do not drop the thermometer in the oil. But also keep in mind, this thermometer, this laser thermometer, only tracks the temperature at the surface of whatever you're cooking. So do keep that in mind. All right, so while that is heating up, I'm going to take my thermometer, I'm going to snake it through the hot handle and put that right into the oil. Now also for this demo's sake, I'm going to be using a countertop deep fryer here. Now most of the time this readout here where it actually sets the temperature of the fryer is not accurate to the actual temperature of the oil. So again, that is where a laser thermometer or a probe thermometer will tell you exactly what temperature the oil is at. So in this case, the oil needs to heat up a little bit more, and then when all the oil is ready, we will return and we'll start cooking these. Okay, now that my oil is ready, I'm going to drop these in and I'm going to cook them for about 20 minutes at 225 to 250 degrees. I don't really want the oil dropping much lower than that, and I don't want the temperature rising much higher than 250 degrees. Okay? What's going to happen, because these wings have a lot of water in them, I'm going to set my thermometer and it's going to be at 250. As soon as I put the wings in, the temperature of the oil is going to drop by quite a lot. That's where you got to have your hand on the stove here, and you're going to control the temperature to keep it in that range. If it goes higher than 250, you turn off the heat. If it goes any lower than 225, then you crank up the heat up and you just kind of regulate that temperature. That's where a countertop fryer does do a better job of just making a lot easier for you, but in our case, we are going to fry on the stovetop here. Okay, so my oil is running a little hot. It's about 260 degrees, but that's fine. As soon as I drop these wings in, the oil will drop in temperature. So, the last thing you want to do when you add these wings into here is you want to throw them in or drop them and try to back away. There's no need to fear hot oil. Okay, you just have to respect it. Okay, so what you can do is you can simply take your wing piece, lower it in, and just let go. Okay, so again, just lower in, let go. The other way, if you're nervous about doing that, is you can just put the chicken piece on a spatula or a slotted metal spoon. Do not use plastic for this. And just simply lower them right into the oil. Okay. For me, I'm going to drop them right in. Okay. Give them a stir. And again, now keep an eye on your thermometer. All right. Set it to 250 degrees so it doesn't go any higher than that. Set your timer for about 20 minutes and just keep an eye on this. Keep an eye on the temperature. Heat it up more if it needs to go up in temperature. Turn it off if it needs to be lowered a little bit. There really shouldn't be a ton of loud sizzling here. There should just be some bubbling going on right now. This temperature, 250 degrees, is way lower than temperatures you usually want to deep fry in. Again, we're not deep frying here. We're confit cooking. This is going to slowly tenderize the chicken wings before we take them out. Then what we'll do is we'll deep fry them later to crisp up the skin. This process is not only tenderizing meat, but it's rendering all the excess water and fat from the skin so that when we go to deep fry this later, the skin is nice and thin and nice and crispy. Okay, so going to do this for about 20 minutes here. I'm going to show you how the countertop fryer works here. All right, so my countertop fryer is running a little bit hot. One way to cool it down quickly is just to add a little bit of cold oil to it, and that should cool it down just enough. In this case, putting the wings in is super easy. All I gotta do is just lift up the basket, put my wings in. Okay, now that once my wings are all in, I'll just simply drop them into the oil. And again, same thing, I don't really want them sizzling or really frying very loudly. You can see just a couple bubbles popping up. I will keep an eye on the thermometer here. So they're running still a little bit hot, that's okay. I'll just lower the heat on here and wait about 20 minutes. All right, so once that is done, I will show you then what to do. Just make sure to stir occasionally, or in the case of a basket, just kind of lift it every once in a while. But yeah, I'll see you guys back here in 20 minutes. Okay, so what is happening right now is by slow cooking this, we are taking all of the fat and connective tissue that is in the chicken skin, and we are slowly cooking and rendering it out. Kind of in a similar way when you cook bacon on the stovetop and you slowly cook it, all that fat kind of renders out and the bacon becomes crispy. Same sort of concept here. Rather than cooking at a very high temperature that sets the skin on the outside, we are slowly cooking that out. So that's why we're going very, very slowly. Now, while the chicken is going to be well above the 165 degree range internal temperature that we need for serve safe, because it has some connective tissue, because it has some collagen and therefore turning into gelatin, the wings will still be moist and tender and succulent, despite the fact that we're cooking it well above temperatures that normally dry out the chicken pieces. Alright, so it's been about 20 minutes later. These have been confit cooking in the oil for a bit. So I've got a baking sheet with paper towels on it, and I'm just going to place these right on the paper towel. Now normally you'd want to have this on a wire rack so that the excess oil can drain out, but in this case we're not done cooking them, so I'm not really worried about the excess oil coming off it. As you can see, the wings aren't really browned. They're not very crispy right now. That's okay. What we're going to do, let me go ahead and take the other wings out of the other fryer here, is we're going to let these cool down, park them in the fridge or let them sit on the countertop for an hour or so. Let them fully cool down so that when we go to finish these, we are just focusing on just reheating them, just crisping up the outside without drying out the meat inside. So, let me shake off the excess oil from the basket here. Put them here. And there we go. So in the meantime, I'm going to make sure both of the fryers are shut off. And now I'm just going to park these in the fridge. Now what's really nice about this technique is that you can cook these well ahead of time. Say you're hosting people or having a Super Bowl party or something like that. The wings can be cooked well ahead of time. They can be cooked a day or two ahead of time. And then on the day of that you're ready to execute this and actually serve them, all you have to do is just take them out of the fridge, throw them right into 350 degree oil just until they're crisp, have your sauce already made and ready to go, and then when they're done, just take them out of the fryer, put them in the bowl, toss them with the sauce, and they're ready to go. Also, as far as execution, while you're waiting here for the wings to cook, you have 20 minutes or so, 20-25 minutes of free time just kind of waiting for the wings to cook. You can make your sauce. So if you want a very simple like buffalo wing sauce, all you gotta do is take about a cup or 8 ounces of Red Hot or Frank's Red Hot sauce, melt it with a stick of butter, and you have a very easy buffalo sauce right there. Again, you can get creative here and just try any sauce that you like, but Yeah, these are really easy. Once you have them cooked, they are really easy to finish and execute for either a restaurant setting or even just right at home. So, yeah, so these are cooked. These are done. I'm going to put them into the fridge, and when I see you guys next time, we'll be ready to finish these off. All right, so the wings are cooked. We are just at our finishing step here, ready to serve them. So I'm gonna be using the countertop fryer for this. My oil is all the way up to 350 to 400 degrees. You want it in that range. Preferably you shoot for around 375 and it dips below a little bit, that's fine. You then obviously just boost up the heat to help you out. All right, so what I'm going to do here, I've got my wings here sitting ready to go. I'm just going to simply plop them into the fryer, just all in at once. Okay, and I'm going to fry these for about 5 to 10 minutes or until they are nice and golden brown and crispy. So I will lower them in. I've got my laser thermometer to check it out. I've got also my probe thermometer here. Now, while I'm waiting for that, I have my sauces ready to go. So in each bowl, I have different sauces that you can then take the wings and then just simply toss them in after they're done. So I've got barbecue sauce here. I've got just simple buffalo sauce, which is hot sauce and butter. And I've also got bottled sweet chili sauce in this bowl here. So obviously the sauce does not matter. You can go with whatever you want. You don't even have to go with any sauce at all. But since we haven't added any salt yet to the chicken wings, they do need some flavoring, some seasoning on the outside. So other than that, this is really simple. From this point on, you're just simply going to wait until the wings are nice and crispy. I'm going to replace the paper towels here with fresh ones, get a wire rack to allow these to drip dry a little bit. And then next time I see you, we'll be tossing these in the sauces and we'll finish them up. All right, so these are done. So you see they're nice and golden brown. So I'm just going to simply dump them onto a wire rack. Now I'm going to turn the fryer off, cover that up. Now wait for that to cool down. If you are doing this at home, you can wait until this cools down, all the way down, then just filter it right back into the bottle, and then you can reuse the frying oil for later. But for now, we have our wings. They're nice and crispy here. And all you have to do from here is just take a few of them, just toss them into each bowl. And then just give them a quick toss. All right, then from there, I've got a sauce cup with ranch in it, and I'm just going to simply place these around the plate. Let me put this over here. So, a couple of sweet chili, couple of barbecue, and a couple of buffalo. There we go. And I'm just going to simply clean the edge of the plate here. And there we have it. So nice and crispy. The sauce, once you sauce the wings, you want to serve these right away because the sauce will sog out the skin a little bit. But these are ready to serve, and that is our in-between cuts. All right, there we go. If you have any questions, of course, just let me know. Make sure you are being careful with your fryer, whether you're using a countertop fryer or you're using a pot. Just be super careful, be ready just in case there is any fires or anything like that. But if you do everything right, everything I showed you here, you should be totally fine. So there we go, and I will see you back in class.